Good afternoon, class. So for today, we will discuss the emerging literature. And before I will discuss, let me first share the objectives. Okay, so at the end of the lesson, the students are expected to determine new emerging genres of literature, differentiate the literatures, and create a concept map that showcases the various emerging literature that will be discussed. Okay, so what can you say about this picture? Anyone?
Ma'am, naka-Venn diagram.
What is the words that are inside the diagram?
Ma'am, may similarities tapos may sila, differences.
Very good. So in this diagram, you can see the comparison of literature before and now. Okay, although there are differences between modern and contemporary literature or traditional or the 21st literature, there are still similarity between the two. And since both are forms of literature, no matter the era, these expressions tackle something universal about the human condition, whether love, war, betrayal, respect, goodness, or justice. So all literature captures a certain glimpse of life in the humanity. Next is the introduction to emerging literature. Okay, so the emerging literature refers to a new genres of scholarly discourse such as online collaborative spaces, academic blogs, websites, and e-prints. It is also integration of traditional and technological driven form of literature. Okay, so the emerging literature refers to a type of category of literature, and it has a specific form, content, and style. There are four main genres of literature also. These are the poetry, the fiction, the nonfiction, and the drama. Under each of those genres, there are different genres. For example, the fiction, it includes the speculative fiction, the fantasy, and also the science fiction. Next is the creative nonfiction. In creative nonfiction, these are the forms of storytelling that employs the creative writing techniques of literature, such as poetry and fiction, to retell a true story. It is also often explains the author's personal connection to the subject matter. Lastly is the creative nonfiction, wherein it must be based on facts with no embellishments that would lessen its veracity. Okay, so the creative nonfiction is a form of storytelling that employs the creative writing techniques of literature, such as the poetry and such. Okay, so for the creative nonfictions, there are four forms of creative nonfiction. Number one is the memoir. The memoir is a collection of memories. It's either surrounding a single narrative thread or multiple interrelated idea. The memoir is also published as a book or extended piece of fiction. Next is the personal essays. The personal essays, the stories about personal experiences and are told using literary techniques. The personal essay can also be can also stand alone stories about a single event. Next form is the lyric essay. The lyric essay contains similar subject matter as the personal essay. However, it is much experimental in form. It can also stands out for its unique writing style and the sentence structure. And last is the literary journalism. The literary journalism, it is to report on a real-life event using literary conventions and styles. So the idea in these forms of fiction is that it is more ambiguously defined. It is more simple, and also on reporting on real-life events using the literary conventions and styles. Example for this is the Marvin Gardens by John McPhee and the Once More to the Lake by E.B. White. Next is the hyperpoetry, which will be discussed by one of our group mates, Mr. Patrick Cruz.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Novi. So we have hyper poetry. So as you can see in the PPT, hyper poetry is a form of digital poetry that uses links using hypertext markup. Also, it is a visual form and it's related to hypertext fiction and visual arts. In other definition, hyperpoetry is also known as cyber poetry. So it refers to the genre of poetry that is always produced and presented with the computer. It involves lines of verse that appear with links to footnotes, poetry generators, or poetry with images or movement. In short, this is the upgraded version of poetry. As you can see in the novels na nakikita natin ngayon, it is printed na. And that defines hyperpoetry. It also gives link na pwedeng mong ma-access with Google or internet. Okay, next slide. Okay, we have the forms of hyperpoetry. First, we have eggshell hypertext. This is the most simple in structure. These hypertexts have a straight path from beginning to end. Also, it is fairly easy for the reader to follow. Second one, we have hyperpresent hypertext. This is more complex than the eggshell form. These have branching structure which resembles a tree. These hypertexts have one beginning but many possible endings. The third one, we have layered hypertext. This consists of two layers of linked pages. The upper layer contains plain text. The bottom multimedia layer provides photos, sounds, and video. And the last one, we have network structure. This hypertext is the most complex than the two previous forms. This consists of an interconnected system of nodes with no dominant axis of orientation. Let us go for the next slide. So in the next slide, we have chick literature. As you can see and read in the PowerPoint, chick lit is a term used to denote genre fiction within women's fiction written. It is marketed to young women in their 20s and 30s. It is also a genre of fiction which consists heroine-centered narrative that focus on the trials and tribulation of their individual protagonists. Next slide. So also, in chick literature, it is a modern fiction about the lives and romantic problems of young women, usually written by women. In addition, we have characteristics. It is a genre often addressed issues of womanhood. So we have also examples of peace for the next slide po. So what are the benefits when reading the author or the piece of these authors? So as a man, you can see the perspective of woman by reading it. So we have different options or understanding the point of view of a woman. So that is one of the benefits of learning Chick literature. Okay, let us move forward. Next slide po. Also, we have illustrated novel. This means it refers to extended narrative with multiple images that together with the text produce a meaning. Some illustrated novels contain no words at all, and this story are taught text and illustrated images. So 50% of narrative is presented without words. So we have, next slide, the example. Okay. As you can see in the image, what can you determine the situation or what is the theme behind Oliver Twist? There you go. So it is simple. Then that describes the image itself with no words or content. So Charles Dickens' novel was the poorest people in society, as you can see in the image, were treated the worst. This is one of the key themes in Oliver Twist, where we can see the failure of the workhouse system that was unable to look after the poor and lonely orphans that were in their care. So I will provide another example with the use of image itself. So the logo of Jollibee. Without context or words, you can describe the photo itself. It is jolly. It's a bee. It smiles. It is happy. So that explains illustrated novel. So moving forward, let us welcome Ma'am Marielle for further explanation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So now let us move on to the graphic novel. So please do take note, class. Okay, so what is graphic novel? So as its name suggests, graphic novel describes how a book's content is put together. So it is a novel that tells a complete story by a sequence of illustrations. So it is a type of text combining words and images. And also graphic novels are similar to comic books because, as I have mentioned a while ago, they use sequential art to tell a story, unlike the comic books. And also graphic novels are generally standalone story with more complex plots. Okay, now there are certain characteristics of graphic novel. Okay, let's take a look at the examples here. So the famous works and authors of the graphic novel that are still famous, read and appreciated by this generation somehow. So number one is the 100 Bullets by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rezo. So if you try to turn on the page, what are the things that you will find in the graphic novel is that first, of course, there is a story told in frames or panels. And then second, dialogues in speech bubbles with small text. And in most of it are images to help elaborate the story because all of us are the same. So we have different reading styles, right? And some of us cannot be able to get the message of the story just by looking at the images, right? So all the texts are there to help us understand more the story. So as I have mentioned earlier, illustration in a sequence. Okay, so the concept of 100 bullets is based on not just 100 bullets, but 100 questions and also decisions and conclusions. So it is a story of mostly vengeance major cases that have somehow been validated. And then the next one is The Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. So in this graphic novel, there are superhero characters. So they join together in order to feature the astonishing outfits and vibrant colors, which made the novel so popular and eye-catching to the readers. And the third one is, next slide. Sorry. So the third one is, please go turn it back po. Okay, so the third one is The Famous Batman. So entitled The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. So of course, everybody loved this graphic novel, isn't it? Okay, so in fact, it catches the attention of many directors, producers, and the writers of the movies. And actually, they were inspired by this novel. So they also created movies out of it. And then many people still love it. And then it's very, still popular. And it is still popular nowadays, even it is produced long time ago. So this is definitely a legend of the graphic novel because it is a universal hit and still popular until now. And also take note, class, that the graphic novels share all the key characteristics of the traditional novel. So number one, the graphic novel should have a clear beginning, middle, and of course, end. And also, if we are writing a graphic novel or any literary text, it should have a clear beginning and middle and an end. So in order for the readers or the viewers to fully understand the flow of the story itself. And then the next one is the character development and personal journeys. So it portrays the development of the character or the main person in the story. So for instance, the character from the experience of the character from being, for example, poor to being rich will be highlighted in the story. So maybe some of you are still wondering what is the difference between the graphic novel and a comic book. Okay, so graphic novels are the longer one, as it covers a wide array of genres than the comic books. Now moving on to the next one, which is the text talk novels. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we say text talk novels, it is one of the modern ways of writing stories and novels. So in here, stories were told almost completely in a dialogue, also simulating a social network exchanges. So it can be in a form of text, messaging, or emails, letters, or also in instant messages or blogs. So TikTok novels are not written in SMS slang like what we are doing or what we usually do in phone messaging. So it is not abbreviated. And also, there is only 70 to 100 words. So meaning to say, the sentences are short and simple. So here are the examples. Next slide, please. Ma'am, thank you. So number one, The Idiot by Elif Batuman. So if you would notice, it is a semi-autobiographical novel. So it has emails and messaging format as it centers the 18 years old named Celine, which is, who is the nearest, earnest and interesting or interested in learning new things. So she find herself more interested in close reading and email from her crush. So the story is created because it's about Celine, her crush, and her friends. So their relationship is strengthened by sharing, of course, their experiences and confessions through email. So the next one is the Conversation with Friends by Sally Roning. So this includes emails and blogs as the title itself, wherein Bobby, which is the main character, calls back and thank her friend Frances for the email. So that's it for today, for today's discussion. Let's go to your activity. Do you have any question, I should say, class? Okay, none. If that's the case, we'll proceed to the next activity. Okay, so you were going to match the picture of the title or the title itself of the book to its corresponding genre from the given option. So please don't forget to enter your name for easy recording. And take note, class, that you have 2 minutes to answer this activity. Am I clear? Am I clear, class?
Yes,
You have
ma'am.
any
Yes.
questions before? Or okay, then you may now click the link provided in our chat box. All right, then let's see the people in, all right. So, okay, class. So today we have learned the different emerging genres of literature. So do you have any clarifications or concerns
None, ma'am.
or questions regarding to our lesson? Let us now proceed to your next activity. Now that you have learned what makes emerging literature, there will be 3 groups. So together with your assigned group, this is your time to create your own story. So may it be in a form of creative nonfiction, hyper poetry, chic literature, illustrated novel, or graphic novel, or a text talk novel. So you may use MS Word or take a photo of your handwritten output to be submitted in our Messenger group chat. This is good for this week. So please be guided in our rubrics: content, 15 points, organization and clarity, 3 points, grammar and punctuation, 3 points, for a total of 20 points. Okay, so this time, next slide, please. So this time, may I ask anyone from the class who would like to at least recapitulate or share something of what you've learned from our discussion? So you can raise your hand or unmute your microphone if you want to answer. So here's the question: how important are the aforementioned genres in writings or as a future writer? Like in case you become fascinated and have an interest in writing your masterpiece. Anyone who would like to try?
Ma'am, Patrick Cruz po.
Yes, Patrick.
Ma'am, these different genres help us explore and adventure to have confidence within ourselves and build our own style. in writing, ma'am. That is all.
Okay, thank you for that. Very good. So for me to evaluate what have you learned, using the link that I provided in our chat box, you have, wait for a moment, I'll just share the link. Okay, there you go. So you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to choose the correct genre from the given option. So am I clear? Anyway, this is a multiple type of quiz. So you may now click the link. Okay, so for your assignment, for those who are done with the quiz, please go back to our Zoom meeting and take down notes or take a photo of your assignment. So for your assignment, I want you to, wait for a moment, next slide, please. So I want you to create a concept map that showcases the various emerging literatures that was discussed. So this time you will be doing it individually, and may it be handwritten or encoded. So it's your choice. Okay, then kindly send your output in our Canvas. Also, please be guided with the following criteria here. Content and accuracy for 10 points, organization and neatness, 5 points, and also creativity, 5 points, for a total of 20 points. So do you have any questions, class, before we end?
None, ma'am.
Okay, any violent reaction regarding the lesson?
None rin, ma'am.
Okay, if none, then kindly give me a virtual heart reaction or a thumbs up reaction. Okay, thank you for that. Now, may I request everybody to open your camera so I could see your beautiful and handsome faces. Okay, thank you very much for participating. Anyway, this will be recorded and it will serve as your attendance for today. So the meeting will end after a few seconds. You may have your snacks. And once again, good day, everyone, and have a blessed day ahead. Thank you.